I co-chair the Blue Dog Coalition. We're a group of moderate Democrats who prioritize bipartisan cooperation, a strong national defense, and fiscal responsibility. And it may sound quaint or old-fashioned, but our coalition believes excessive debts and deficits pose a threat to our economy, our security, and our children's future. We believe that as lawmakers, we have to make a good faith effort to get our fiscal house in order by bringing government revenues and expenditures into better alignment. And in times of economic stability and low unemployment, we should be trying to make our fiscal problem better. And at a minimum, we should be trying not to make it any worse. And as Mr. Furman and Larry Summers wrote in a recent essay, when you're in a hole, one logical approach is to stop digging. Consistent with this do no harm philosophy, Blue Dogs have generally insisted that any new legislative measure that would increase the deficit should be paid for with spending cuts or revenue raisers. If something truly is worth doing, then it should be worth paying for. And trust me, putting this philosophy into practice doesn't always make us really popular with our colleagues. And it requires us at times to cast some tough votes, which I would submit is what we're elected to do. As Blue Dogs, we try to be equal opportunity critics. We call out those members of our party who argue that deficits and debts don't matter, and who suggest that we can make fiscal policy without any semblance of fiscal restraint. And if those deficit dismissers are, if what they're saying sounds too good to be true, it's because it is. And at the same time, Blue Dogs don't hesitate to condemn Republican hypocrisy on this subject. You know, the GOP skillfully talks the talk on fiscal responsibility, but rarely walks the walk when they're in power. And the TCJA is arguably the most egregious example of the gap between Republican rhetoric and Republican action. I opposed this bill because it was unprincipled, hyper-partisan, and sloppy. But above all, I opposed it because it was clear it would make our deficit and debt problem worse. 2 years out, the evidence has confirmed our fears. CBO just released its latest budget outlook, and the numbers show the fiscal state of our union is neither strong nor sound. Inadequate revenue collection, caused in part by the TCJA, is a major culprit. And last fiscal year, the federal budget deficit was $984 billion and is expected to exceed $1 trillion this year and every year for the next decade. Over the same period, federal debt held by the public is projected to rise from 78% to nearly 100% of GDP, which would be unprecedented in our history. To manage the economic and security risks associated with large and rising deficits and debts, we need to take a thoughtful and bipartisan approach on both the spending and the revenue side of the ledger. And the taxation of business income needs to be a part of this debate.